It's me, Phil, in the Digital DJ Tips studio with another Tuesday live lesson. You know, we're nearly at the end of January, and for a lot of people, January is that month where they make a commitment to do something this year that they've always wanted to do, maybe that they've been putting off, maybe they put off last year. And there's still time. There's still time if you haven't done it or you've had a go and it hasn't quite worked. There's still time to make a commitment to do something this year. Most of the year is still left. It's still January. So if you are sat there thinking, actually, there is something I wanted to do, and that something has got something to do with DJing, well, you're in the right place, because today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make time for practicing DJing. We're all busy. None of us have got endless time on our hands to just, flit from thing to thing, doing what we want. Oh, that we had. I remember in my 20s, I had all the time in the world, and 10 years flew by like that, but it was the 10 best years of my life. And I went from being a nobody to being a DJ playing in the biggest clubs in the world. But guess what? I had the chance to give everything to it for a decade. None of us have got that time in our lives now, and none of us really want it. I think, we're all juggling things that matter to us, whether it's work or family or leisure activities or whatever. DJing, much as it is a big important thing to us, a passion, is not something that we can give every second of every day to. And as I say, I don't think any of us really want that. So how do you find the time? How do you make sure that you move your DJing forward along with the other things in your life? Because other things in your life demand that you put time into them. And so how do we get into that mindset where our DJing is just as important to us? That's what I'm going to be talking about today. So what I want you to do as a person watching along, whether you're one of our students at the school or whether you're just watching our show, that's great, is let me know in the comments. This is a live show, so let me know in the comments how you find time for your DJing, what tricks you use, what you've had to give up in order to do it, or what you're struggling with when it comes to finding time for your DJing. But look, there is still time to make 2025 the year that you follow your passions and do something cool in your DJing. So let me help you here to get a bit closer by discussing in the next half hour or so how to find time for practicing your DJing. Sound good? Cool. Well, let's get started. So I'm going to give you 7 steps here. Now, you don't have to scribble these down or anything. What I'm teaching you here is actually based upon some teaching that we have in the Digital DJ Tips website that you can go and find. I'll show you now how to go and find that, but we'll also put a link underneath to that. So if you head to the Digital DJ Tips website, that isn't the Digital DJ Tips website. That's just some cool DJ gear that I've got over in the corner here. But let's head to the website instead. And then you go to the very top right-hand corner and click on that little magnifying glass and click into the box and type find time like that. And then the first thing you see is going to be this article, How to Find Time, the proven method for busy people. So this article goes into a lot of detail about how we teach finding time for DJing here at the Digital DJ Tips DJ School. It's got a downloadable sheet to help you plan your time for your next big DJing goal. And it basically goes into more detail than I can do in half an hour today about everything I'm about to talk about. So you don't need to scribble down anything that we're about to discuss now. You just need to sit back and listen and hopefully get inspired to take that step and follow a bit further, look a bit deeper into it. So I'm going to give you 7 things here, 7 things that will hopefully get you thinking about finding time for your practicing, finding time to get better at DJing, to do whatever it is that you're dreaming of doing. So number 1, probably the most important thing of all, is picking a goal. What are you aiming at? What is it that you want to be able to do? Picking a goal is really important, but the one thing that people sometimes fail to do, which I think is just as important, is being very clear about why you want to achieve this goal. What is it that's motivating you to achieve the goal? So your goal could be, I'm going to produce a mixtape. And my mixtape is going to be my favourite 15 songs of all time. I've always wanted to do that. And this year's the year I do it. I'm going to teach myself to DJ so that I can put together a fantastic mix. We call them mixtapes because we're old and we actually remember when they were tapes. But you know what I mean. A mix that you can stick up there on SoundCloud or wherever and you can show to the world. That's what I'm going to do. But why? Why do you want to do that mix? Now, your reason's going to be different from the next person to the next person. It could be, in this case, because I want something that I can listen to that is just perfect. It's everything I love. Or it could be that I've promised it to someone. Or it could be I did promise it to someone and it's now time I delivered on that. It could be that I want to start getting DJ gigs down the line, but I want to have something to show people what it is I do. There's lots of reasons why you might want to, in this instance, make a mixtape. And you don't have to get it perfect, but try and work out why you want to do something. And the reason for that is really simple. The thing that you want to achieve is going to take time, and you might be very enthusiastic at the beginning, but this is how it always goes. Great idea. This is time along the bottom of my graph I'm about to draw. Great idea. This is enthusiasm and this is time. Great idea, really enthusiastic. As time goes on, you're going to go into like a U shape. And somewhere where you're nowhere near the end of your project, making a mixtape, but you're way past the beginning, your enthusiasm is going to hit the bottom. You're going to think, why am I doing this? I can't do this. We're going to talk about the little voices in a little while. So it's the why, it's knowing the why that's going to get you out of that slump and towards the end of your project into successfully delivering it. It's being able to say, yeah, but if I don't do it, and then the why comes in, if I don't do it, then this won't happen, and that's important to me. So it's always a good idea whenever you're planning anything big, but in this case, we're talking about DJing, to be clear about why you want to do it. It will get you through the hard times, okay? So number one, pick a goal and not only decide why you want to do it, but also when are you going to do it by? If you don't know when you're going to be doing this thing by, then it's not quite so good. Now, there's more info on that article I showed you about picking great goals. So we'll move on to number two now, which is, again, it's actually a very important one. Now tell someone else. Now tell at least one other person, preferably as many people as you can, that you're going to be doing this. And of course, the reason we do this is that, well, it's twofold actually. On the one hand, it keeps you accountable, right? When we promise something to other people, even if they don't really care about it, you know, oh, by the end of the year, I'm going to do this, you know, your mates will be like, ah, yeah, whatever. One, it inspires you because if you're like me, your friends will be poking you in the ribs saying, ah, never, you'll never do that. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, that is like, that puts the fire in me. But two, so it makes you accountable, right? You're like, well, I'm going to look silly if I don't deliver this now. But two, if you get the buy-in of the people closest to you, so your family, your friends, your dependents, those people who you're going to need on your side as you hit the bottom of the enthusiasm curve, if you like, or when they want you, they need you for something. But if you can get them to buy into this thing you want to do, and they understand how important it is to you, they're more likely to think twice before pulling you away from it, right? So telling other people about this great thing you want to do in your DJing, having a reason why you're doing it, knowing when you're going to do it by, this is all important at the very beginning before you've done anything, because it'll keep you on track. It'll keep the people in your life encouraging you and not trying to pull you away from it, not realizing how important it is to you. And you'll know when you've got there, because guess what? The date has come and you've delivered this thing, right? So pick a goal and be very clear about it. And then number two, tell other people. Okay. So number three is something that I've borrowed from a guy called David Allen, who wrote a book called Getting Things Done. And this changed the way that I get things done years and years ago. And I've been using it ever since. This is a very, very powerful technique. So David Allen says, for instance, in our case, make a mixtape. That's not a thing to do. That's the goal. That's not what you do. You don't say, okay, right, well, I said I'd make a mixtape, so now I better sit down and make a mixtape, right? Get your DJ gear out. Okay, let's go. Let's make that mixtape. No, of course not. Because there's a little bit more involved in making a mixtape than just starting to make a mixtape. Of course, if you're a DJ that's got all the music you want and the gear you want, and you do this all the time, and you've already thought about what you want to put on your mixtape, and someone needs it tomorrow, and your gear's there, it's sat and ready, and you know how to record it, you know how to master it, then you probably could just turn your gear on and make a mixtape. And I'm only using making a DJ mix as one example here, by the way. It doesn't have to be this at all. So what David Allen says is this: you need to break your task down into smaller tasks, into things that are actually to-dos. And you need to get them in the right order, and you need to think about them so that they're in the right order. So if you were making a DJ mix, it could be go and buy all the tracks I want to use, listen to them, figure out little pairs of tracks that work together so that your mix is starting to come together. Rearrange those pairs, do a rough draft of the mix to listen to, decide if I want to add more tunes or take them away, learn how to tidy up a mix when I've recorded it so that I can make it look better. Get an account on SoundCloud or Mixcloud that I can put my mix on, get some artwork designed for my mix, play it to people who I trust and make sure that it's good enough, and if not, figure out why, you know. So all these little things, they're your to-dos. They're the things that not only are actionable because they make sense to something you can do right now, but there's something you need to think about ahead of time. You need to get them in the right order. You need to plan, in other words, what you're going to be doing. And so the method where you break down a big task into little tasks is part of the planning of your big goal. Part of your finding time for practicing is figuring out what you're going to be practicing. This is absolutely essential because no one wants to be faced with something. You know, I bet you've got things on your to-do list that have been sat there forever because they're just like, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna open my personal to-do list now. I'm gonna guarantee you there's gonna be something on my to-do list. I'm not gonna show you my list, but I'm gonna go and have a look at it. I guarantee you, because no one's perfect, there's gonna be something on my list that's been there for ages. And the reason is it's not a good to-do. It's not an actionable next thing. So what are we going, oh, here we go. Put TV on wall. Put TV on wall. Our TV is sat on the stand that it came with, the little plastic stands on the TV cabinet. There's holes in the wall where the old one was taken off, and the old TV stand didn't fit the new TV. So my wife would probably tell you, it must be a year ago that got added to there. And the reason, partly, that that's on there and hasn't been dealt with is I can't put the TV on the wall. I don't know what bracket fits the TV. I don't know what size of bracket fits the TV. I don't have the bracket. I don't have the mounts. I don't have the correct hardware to put a heavy television on a plasterboard wall. I haven't been down to the hardware store and bought the bits that I need. The drill is here in the studio. It's not at home. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't drill the TV up and put it on the wall. So my to-do list for that goal, pretty uninspiring goal, but it is a goal. My to-do list should be 1, research correct bracket for TV. 2, order and buy correct bracket for TV. 3, buy mounting hardware for TV. 4, bring drill home from work. 5, measure TV. 6, put TV on wall, right? If I swap that out for the next action, which is in this case, find correct bracket and order it, right? Whatever. Then I'd be able to do that. That'll probably get done within the next couple of days because I think, you know, I've got 5 minutes now. Amazon bracket. But because I haven't bothered, it's just been sat there forever. Now, doing something big in your DJing for 2025 is much bigger than my boring little to do there. But the point stands. If you can list out all, and you don't have to get it perfect. So David Allen says in that book, the next action is the important one because that will move you closer to your project. So at the very least, figure out what you've got to do next, but try and plan at least a few stages ahead towards your goal. So again, we haven't actually done anything yet, but what we're doing here is starting to think about things. So figure out the list of things in order that need to happen for you to hit your goal as best as you can. Really, really important. And if you're stuck, if you think, well, I don't know, I haven't got an idea, I've never done a DJ set before. How do I know if my thing is play a DJ set in my local bar? How do I know what I need to do? I've never done it before. Here's another really, really good tip. If you say, I'm going to play a DJ set in my local bar in 3 months, 3 months is always a good length of time, by the way, 90 days. It's a great length of time for any goal. If you say that and you don't know what to do to go 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps closer towards that goal, a really good way of focusing your brain is to say to yourself, if I had to do that in 3 days, not 3 months, what would I do? And whatever the first thing is from that list, that's the thing you should be doing first. So the 3 days for 3 months rule is a really good one, or something close. Now, of course, if your goal is to finish or take a DJ course, it's a little bit like a runner. I'm a runner. I like to run marathons. It's a little bit like a runner getting a training program to get them ready for a race, right? Your goal is the race, but the things you need to do to get to that goal have all been figured out for you by someone else. That's the beauty as a runner of following a training course or getting a coach to help you, right? So if you've bought a DJ course, say from us or whatever, then that's kind of been done for you, which is great. You don't have to worry about this, but it's still worthwhile kind of looking at what the course is going to give you, looking through the lessons and trying to figure out, okay, there's two approaches here. I'm going to do an hour, work through my course. I'm going to do an hour at a time, or I'm going to keep working until I finish this lesson and this lesson and this lesson, right? So there's the kind of time and then there is the finishing the to-do thing, because certainly with courses, no one knows how long it's going to take you, right? So some people prefer to say, look, I'm just going to spend an hour and get as far as I get, or I'm going to finish a lesson a day or whatever. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but at least it's been planned out for you and you can put it all in your calendar that way. We're going to move on to talking about the calendar in a minute. But before we do that, we need to move on to the fourth point, which is a reality check here. All right, so we've covered picking a goal, telling other people about it, figuring out what the actual things are that you need to do to get to your goal, whether it's putting all the stuff from a DJ course into a list, or whether it's figuring it out yourself using the 3 days for 3 months rule and using the next task rule. Reality check time. People say, oh, I'm going to make some time to do that this weekend. No one makes time. Time is finite. You get 24 hours in a day and 7 days in a week, etc., etc. No one makes time. You have to find time. And in fact, no one finds time because we know all the time. You know, you can't find a 13 o'clock. Unfortunately, there are 12 hours in each half day, and you can't find extra time. No one can. You can't find an 8th day. So if we can't make time and we can't find time, what are we going to have to do? Well, point 4, reallocate time. This is where we need a reality check, because anything worth doing is going to involve some big, if not profound, life choices. Where the hell is that time going to come from? To put it another way, and to give you some tough love, you're going to have to give something up that matters to you in order to do this. Because going into it, drifting into it, thinking, oh, I'll just be a bit less lazy, is a bit like a government saying we're going to save money by just not spending as much. There's pain involved. And unless you know where you're going to cut the money from here to find it to spend there, then you're not doing a competent job of being a government. It's the same with your time. Your time is something that you need to manage mindfully. You can't just say, I'm going to find more. I'm just going to be less lazy and do more, because you're not lazy. Just like a government doesn't have infinite money, you don't have infinite time. It's not because the government's incompetent or you're lazy. It's just that choices have to be made. So where are you going to cut in order to spend your time? In my case, and I'll give you an example from my life, as someone who likes to go running. If I'm training for a big race, in fact, I also did it when I was writing this book, because this was something extra on top of my life. When I'm doing something, when I've got a project, I always look at my calendar and I always decide that I'm going to put the work in, which we're going to move on to in a second, into my calendar, and then I'm going to have to take something out. And in my case, both in the case of the book, which I wrote last year around this time, I was doing that, and at the moment actually, because I'm training for a race, I do it in the morning. I do it first thing in the morning, before someone can take my time away from me and say, I need you for this or whatever. And the reason for that is because it just works for me. It's not going to work for everyone, and I know I'm quite lucky to be able to do that. But where does the time come from to do that? Well, it doesn't come from me sleeping less, because I need sleep. So it comes from the evening. It comes from my wife and I used to put the kids to bed and sit and watch something on TV before we went to bed. We don't do that now. We go to bed at the same time as the kids. And that's where the time comes from. So the choice is TV in the evening, important thing in the morning, in my case. Luckily, because my wife has bought into what I'm doing, she's cool with that. In fact, she likes to run as well. So she needs her sleep too. So we decided that's what we would do. Everyone's different. So it could be that you stop going to the pub with your friends twice a week and spend that time doing it. Could be again that you just stop watching TV. Or it could be something else that you're not getting enjoyment from, that you used to get enjoyment from, that you're going to choose to give up. But whatever it is, you've got to take the time from one place to give to your DJing. Be honest about it at the beginning, because there's no point committing to something, telling everyone about it, and then not being able to do it because you didn't think this through, right? So number 4 is reallocate time. Now, as I said at the beginning of today's live show, I'd love you to share with me how you found time for your DJing, or if you haven't, what struggles you've got and how it's worked out for you. The comments are all coming in live here because I've got your chat box open right in front of me, and lots of you are doing that already, which is really cool of you. Thank you very much for doing so. Don says there's a great book on this very subject called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I've actually read Atomic Habits by James Clear, so thank you for sharing that. And I agree, it is a very good book. So Tesno Pesno says, my forever problems are exactly the same. I can't break them into pieces and they never get solved. So I know exactly what you mean there. And that's life, right? So I'm with you. So thank you people for that. And I'm going to now move on to number 5 in our list, which is, once you've done all this work, this is the exciting bit. Now you get to add the tasks that get you towards your goal into your calendar. Use a calendar, and I think everyone should use an online calendar. You might use Google Calendar. I use a calendar called Hey, as in H-E-Y, but it doesn't matter what you use. You could use the one in your Apple Mac or your Windows Office 365 or whatever. It doesn't matter, but use the online calendar if you can. Use the digital one if you can. Put everything into a calendar. So now you've decided you're going to allocate the time. Block it off. Block it off as if it was an appointment at the dentist. Block it off as if it's your work day or your meetings. And the reason we do this is because we then treat it like an appointment with ourselves, that we don't break. If you do this, and if you do a few extra things, so I think having a routine rather than random. So for instance, if you are using a training program as a runner, to use my example from earlier, the running training programs tend to have the same thing on every day, every week, right? You'll do something on a Sunday that takes a bit more time. You'll do something that's quite short on this day. You'll do a bit of strength work on this day. It's always a Thursday for this, a Tuesday for that, a Sunday for that, a Monday for a rest. You know, routine is good. People like routines. Secondly, little and often. Little and often. If you book in every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. DJ practice, and something happens on that Sunday that stops you doing it, you've just lost a whole week of DJ practice. If you do an hour a day, 5 days a week, and something happens, then you've lost 1 of your 5 practice sessions. Also, we learn when we're not doing. Sounds weird, but everything sinks in between the practice sessions. So while creativity tends to happen when we're doing stuff, when you're on your decks, when you're practicing, that's when you think, oh, that sounds cool, I'll do that. Next thing you know, you've learned something. While that tends to happen when you're doing stuff, stuff sinks in, you learn, you process, you move forward when you're not doing it. So if you think about it, if you practice 5 times a week for an hour, you're not doing it 5 times or 6 times. Whereas if you practice once a week for 8 hours, you're not doing it once. You get where I'm coming from? So the more times you can have between shorter practice sessions, the quicker you learn. It's a psychology thing. So little and often, routine, and add the notes about what you're going to do directly to your calendar. So what I do is, in the calendar, when you have the title, so you know, you set a new event on your calendar, and at the top you have the title, don't you? So you can say, you know, dentist, right? So what I do is, if it's a creative practice session for something, I put the little note symbol, right? So I dial up I dial up my smileys, and I use the one that's a little note and a pad. A little note, and then I write DJ practice session. And then in the notes for that event that I'm creating, I write the to-do. I write what I'm going to be doing on that day. The little note in the title reminds me that there's something deeper down in the to-do in the event. And so when I get to that day's practice session, I can click on it. There's what I'm meant to be doing, right? So if you do this, if you put stuff in your calendar to make an appointment with yourself, you do it little and often, you have a routine so that you're doing the same things on the same days at the same times, and you add what you're going to do. You take the time to plan ahead, add it directly to the notes. Trust me, you're going to find the next 2 steps fly by and you enjoy it most of the time anyway. Notice that we're spending a lot of time here on planning, and this is when we move on to step number 6, where it switches to actually doing. Because another thing that I've learned over time, squeezing things into your life, is that it's a good idea to separate thinking from doing. If you can do all the planning and the thinking ahead of time, then when it comes to the doing, you can just execute. You just do the thing that you've already made an agreement with yourself to do. You open the note for that day, you look at what you're meant to be doing, and you do it. So this is where we hit the mental stuff, right? The mental blocks, the psychology, the bad person on this shoulder telling the good person on this shoulder, you're useless. I really want to do this mixtape. You'll never make a DJ. Why are you trying to do that? But this is something that's really important to me. I'm really tired and I've got something out, right? This is going to happen. So how do we deal with it? So here's a few tips. Number 1, the time that you're more likely to ditch a practice session is before you've started, because you can't be bothered getting yourself all set up and ready. So have a dedicated area where your gear is set up permanently. Now, not everyone has got a studio like this where they can have 2 types of DJ gear permanently set up, but not everyone teaches DJing for a living, right? So, hey, I don't have this at home. At home, instead, I have a small creative desk in the corner of the living room, which is set up so that when I want to do the stuff that's important to me, I can go there, turn my little angle poise lamp on, turn my back to the room, and I'm in. I'm good to go. 2 or 3 seconds, right? Have similar. A really good idea is to have one of those desks that's got a sliding computer tray and have your controller on the tray. Now you have to pick one that's the right size and also one that you can raise and lower so that you can be stood there with your gear and whatever. You'd have to look into it. But having a drawer that will push away with your gear in, so all you've got to do is pull it out, and when you push it in, you're back to your normal desk, is a good little tip. But however you do it, try and have a dedicated area for your DJing, so you're not doing all this setting up beforehand. It's like going to the gym, isn't it? If you've ever joined the gym, you know, it's once you're there, it's all right, but God, it's the getting there. Look, try and take that bit out of the equation. Secondly, learn to use headphones. So obviously headphones are part of DJing, but you can actually mix in headphones. There's methods of mixing in headphones. You can either use the headphone mix knob, which is this little knob here on most gear, to cut between what you're cueing and what you're hearing. So everything's going on in your headphones and nothing is coming out the speakers. Or you might have split cue, which puts the thing you'd normally have on the speakers in one headphone and the thing you're cueing in the other. They both take some getting used to, but either of those methods will let you, for instance, do it at 6 in the morning without disturbing anyone, or in the evening at home when everyone else is watching TV. Talking of that, DJing practice is not always about literally practicing on the decks. It could be about listening through tunes. It could be about buying new music. And I think a pair of noise cancelling headphones, in addition to your DJ headphones, maybe just earbuds, maybe just a pair of earbuds that work with Bluetooth, are a really good thing to have, because you can sit with your laptop or your phone or your iPad, or whatever, going through new music, liking things, even buying music, with your family, with your noise cancelling headphones in. They can be watching TV or jumping up and down with the dog on the sofa or whatever, and you're buying tunes in the same place. You're with them, but you're doing your thing. I find noise cancelling headphones, a pair of AirPods, are a good thing to have for that reason. So have a dedicated area, use headphones wisely. They can help you practice where otherwise you wouldn't. And then about the little voices. These are my little good man, bad man. What do they call them? What do they call the little things on your shoulder? The devil on your shoulder. What's the other one? An angel, maybe. Anyway, these are my angel and my devil. You're going to get them. You're going to get them. Remember the curve that goes down. Your enthusiasm sometimes is right at the bottom. You're sometimes tired. I had to go out for a run this morning and it was in my calendar. The little note was there. I knew what I had to do. It was 6 a.m. I was tired, man. I didn't want to do it. And normally I'm all right by the end. I quite enjoy it. I actually got home and I was still tired. People were getting out of bed and talking to me. And I was like, and they're like, why aren't you replying to us? I'm like, oh, sorry, you're talking to me. oh, I was just tired. I just had a day. I just had one of those days. I've learned personally to just turn up and do the stuff anyway, but it can be hard. The point is, if you have planned everything, it's easier to ignore the voices. If you get there and it's time to do it, like for instance, for me going out for a run in the morning, I put all my kit on the floor ready by the front door. So all I've got, including my key, so all I've got to do is get up, no thinking, put it all on and walk out the door before this little voice says no. So the best you can do is just plow through. And what you'll find is that generally at some point you'll think, I'm glad I did that. Maybe not while you're doing it, but at some point in that day. But the winners are the people who deal with this stuff, ultimately. It's like going to work, isn't it? Unfortunately, not all of us like to go to work every day, even me, don't tell anyone. But the point is that when you get there, it's not always as bad as you think it's going to be. And don't feel guilty that DJing sometimes feels like a drag. You know, just because you really want to be the person giving out this great new mixtape or playing this DJ set, it doesn't mean every step of the process has got to be fun. That's just crazy talk. Don't feel guilty that you're not like some person that enjoys absolutely everything about everything to do with the thing that you love. Just because you love DJing doesn't mean you enjoy it all. You might really dread beat mixing practice, or you might hate buying music or whatever. Just get on with it. And you might find over time that the things you don't like, actually, you don't mind them in the end, and things change. So try and ignore the voices. And the final tip about actually doing the stuff is take notes. Have a diary, have a journal, take notes. It doesn't have to be like this big literary thing, but just at the end, I mean, you could do it in the same place that you have notes about each event. I tend to do it on a pad. I actually have one of these like pads that you can write on with a pen, but it's not really a piece of paper, but anything will do. And write down anything that you feel is important or that you want to do next, or ideas you've had or whatever. So just a diary about your DJing. It's really useful because it's just something to look back on, especially when you're picking goals in the future. Looking back at your notes might give you an idea of something you want to do next. But keeping a diary is always a good idea. So just spend 2 minutes at the end of each practice session scribbling stuff down. And the final point I want to make before we go over to you and talk about your challenges, how you deal with this, is number 7, celebrate your wins. Celebrate your wins. The big goal is obviously something that's going to matter to you, but along the way, there's going to be things that you're proud of, things that happen, things you weren't expecting, synergies, stuff that randomly dropped into your lap because you were doing this great thing called DJing. Celebrate it. Don't be hard on yourself. Go easy on yourself and celebrate your wins. The best way of celebrating your wins is with other people. And if you haven't got many DJs around you to talk about, head into the community, head into Global DJ Network, or head into Student Hub if you're one of our students. Talk to other people like you, share your wins, share your triumphs. It's just a nice way of feeling part of something and feeling like you're not doing this on your own. Final tip then, think about practicing, think about the work you do towards your hobby. Imagine you've got one of those really big jars, right, that you're putting pennies in. Every time you have a practice session, you've dropped a penny in your jar. It doesn't change, your jar looks the same, right? But over time, those pennies build up. And over time, your practice turns into something meaningful. I think it was Bill Gates who said people overestimate what they can achieve in a year, but underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. So we've been talking today about making time for practicing DJing. We've talked about picking a goal, getting that right, telling other people, figuring out the actual work that involves, reallocating the time to do the work, getting the time in your calendar and techniques for doing that properly, actually doing the work, and how to celebrate along the way and go easy on yourself so that you enjoy it and become part of something bigger than you. Now I want to switch over to talking about, and by the way, the reason we got on to talking about this today is that we have just finished making this. It's DJ Jazzy Jeff's Scratch Skills Masterclass. It's actually taken us 15 months to make this course. So you could think about this course as a big goal that we decided we wanted to achieve as a DJ school. And along with Jeff, we did it. It took 15 months. Believe me, a lot of the techniques that I'm telling you about now went into making this course. And if you want to go to this page, just go to djtips.co/Jeff, or rather /JazzyJeff, djtips.co/JazzyJeff. pop your email in there and we'll let you know about this course when it launches later this week. Anyway, the reason I'm showing you this is that we were looking at this course that we just finished with Jeff, and it's a good one. It's got about 80 lessons in it, right? 80 DJ lessons. And we were like, there's going to be people really excited about this. How do we help them find the time to do it? Find the time. We haven't done a video about that for a while. We haven't done a lesson about that for a while. This is a good example, right? This is your training course if you want to learn to scratch. We've decided on your behalf what you need to do, but you still need to do all the tasks that I've just talked to you about in order to get it delivered, get it done. So if you've got a course, then obviously this works. But again, if you haven't, it doesn't matter. The point is that you need to break it down into individual little things that you can deliver, whether a school has decided on those for you or you decide on them yourself, and then use everything else we've just taught you to actually do it. But that's why we're talking about it now, because that course is about to come out, and we know, because we've taught courses for the last 15 years, that we're going to get students in there saying, this looks great, but how am I going to find the time to do it? And we're going to push them towards the recording of this live lesson. However, it's a live lesson. And the beauty of that is that you guys and girls are right here in my chat. So let's see what you got to say about this, people, today. Thank you very much to my team for sharing the link that I'm talking about on all platforms. The Ruckus says, learning to scratch does require a lot of time. You're quite right. It does require a lot of time. Don says, oh, I'm loving you guys. Your humor today, you're cracking me up. Don says, great show, Phil. Thanks for taking the time. You're very welcome. What did I give up for this show today? Nothing. I'm at work. This one is from Charlie, who just says, oh, happy birthday for last week, Phil. Oh, you're I'm very touched. Thank you, Charlie. So Stevie says, I practice on my cell phone with the DJ app, DJAY, and my little DDJ 200 controller, which is very similar to, where is it? There it is. Very similar to this little thing. This tiny little controller here. Chuck it in your bag with your phone, play on it anywhere. This is the Flex 2. So yeah, little controllers like this are a great idea. They mean you can practice in places that other DJs don't get to practice. So thank you for sharing that. You know, using your phone and your noise cancelling headphones to buy music on the bus and things like that. It all adds up. So DJ Brute says, I keep all my notes on my phone. That way I can access them everywhere. Mostly it's just transitions at work or ideas for mashups. I email myself, and then when I'm at my desk, I put those emails into a little folder called ideas for mashups and transitions. So I'm with you on that, DJ Brute. Get them in there. And when I want to buy music, because I like to DJ away from all of this, away from all this technology, I like to DJ on 7-inch singles for fun. And when I want to buy records, I just put them straight into the Discogs app on my phone. Because the Discogs app, you have a want list in there. So whenever I want to buy tunes, I go in there, it knows what I want, and I can just use it to quickly find someone who's selling them secondhand. But so I think, yeah, you're right. Digitizing, putting stuff into your phone, getting stuff in a place where you can access it everywhere and use it quickly for the thing you want to use it for is a good idea. Something worth exploring that actually, putting information where you're going to need it does kind of make sense. Like I was saying earlier, putting stuff in your calendar if it's something you're going to do at that time of day, or putting stuff straight into the shopping site if it's something you want to buy. Interesting. We might follow up on that one. Right. Dr. JDM says, imposter syndrome does make me feel less confident. So imposter syndrome is something we all feel. One thing that all artists, and we are artists, feel is lack of confidence in their own ability and what they're doing. It comes with the territory. And we've got other training actually on imposter syndrome on Digital DJ Tips. You can find that again by going to the search bar and typing in imposter syndrome on the site. It's a good time actually for me to show you once more that everything we've talked about today is in an article on Digital DJ Tips called How to Find Time to Learn DJing. Just type in find time up here in the search bar on Digital DJ Tips and you will get to this article with the free downloadable sheet and all that stuff to help you learn. Okay, let's grab another one of your comments from the live show. This was from Dr. JDM again, who says, I just got my space set up to practice again since Christmas. I love getting on my decks every time, and I made it easy so there is no barrier to entry there. So well done. Kesha says, I'm always very self-conscious about my mix, that I'm doing too much or it sounds clunky. I'm always thinking somebody's listening and saying it's terrible. I have to stop that. This is the devil on your shoulder, isn't it? Saying you're not good enough, saying why are you doing this, saying you're a fool. There's a really fun little thing that I've had pinned on my wall for years, and it's called, I'm just trying to remember what it's called now. I remember what it's called. I'm going to search it up for you now, and I'm going to show it to you. So just give me 2 seconds to find it. I've actually got this printed out, and I've got it on my wall. It's called the Cult of Done. The Cult of Done. And it's a manifesto. It looks like this. So it's a load of one-line phrases that will help you to stop chasing perfection. So just go and search the Cult of Done and print this out. Stick it in front of you on your DJ area. It will help you to get over that. So I love the one in the middle there. Laugh at perfection. It's boring. Laugh at perfection. It's boring. And the one at the bottom, done is the engine of more. Think about this. The reason for getting stuff done is that you can start doing something else. These are all proper, motivational, practical, action-based ways of looking at stuff. And I thoroughly recommend you go and download that, The Cult of Done. It's fighting perfection. Perfection is boring. Anyone can be perfect once, but you want to be almost perfect all the time, or just acceptable all the time. That's how we learn. We learn by doing. We don't learn by sitting at home. You know, one of the things that, without going too far off topic, one of the things that we teach our production students is finish your productions. The number of people who say, oh, I'm a producer. Oh yeah, can I listen to some of your work? Well, I haven't actually finished anything. I've got 50 tracks that are nearly finished on my hard drive. That doesn't count. Our production tutor, Laidback Luke, said he won't even listen to anyone's productions until they can show him 100 things that they finished and put out to the world. Because it takes that to get good. You don't get good by trying to finish your first production. You get good by finishing 100. So it's the same with anything. You've got to just push through and finish so you can start something else. Look forward to the blank slate. Look forward to the fresh start. Just get it done and move on. So thanks a lot for pointing that out, Kesha. It's totally normal. Don't feel bad about that. So Jack says, I write down what I want to get done when I'm going to practice, such as creating a new playlist for an upcoming event or searching for specific songs. I write down what I want to get done. And it's a good idea because then you can tick it off when you've done it. If you're the kind of person that's got a to-do list for your day, which I have, if I've already done something important to me in that day, when I get to sit down and write my list, I write it down and tick it off straight away. Because I know that at the end of the day, when I look at all the things I've done, I want to see that I've done that. I want a reminder that I did that. I'm celebrating a small win. Even if I've already done it, I write it down and tick it off. I might be weird, but I suspect I'm not the only one, to paraphrase or change John Lennon there. Right, so what else have we got? We've got John who says, I have a goal not to be late for my class in 5 minutes, Phil. I'm off. I'm looking forward to catching up later on. Well, good on you. Good on you. So Knuckle Drum and Bass, Knuckle D&B says, my problem is I need to be motivated to practice, and that motivation comes wherever. I can't plan it, sadly. I'm going to push back at you there, Knuckle D&B, because no motivation, creativity, good ideas often happens once we've started. Just because you're not feeling motivated when you start, it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel motivated 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half an hour into that session, right? So there's a nice way of looking at this stuff, and there's two ways of approaching it. There's the but, and there's the if, when, right? So I'll give you them both. The but is when you say something negative, you follow it with the word but, and you follow it with something positive. So in other words, you started practicing, but you're not motivated. The phrase is, I've started practicing and I'm just not motivated. But last week I was in exactly this situation and I came up with a really good transition after 10 minutes. Right? You see what I did there? Obviously, don't say rubbish. It's got to be something true. But as long as you can think of one good reason why you can, there's the flip side of what you just said. Just saying the word but in your head is often enough to trigger something. Try it. And the other one is the if when. So if I get really bored and I can't do anything else on the decks, because I'm just not motivated, then I will go and buy some new tunes on Beatport. So you're not sacrificing the whole practice session. You're giving yourself a plan B if plan A doesn't really work. So therefore, you're giving yourself permission to try plan A. So just think about this, the if, then, or the but way of approaching positive thinking. And this is positive thinking proper. It's not positive thinking, hey, everything's going to be great if I just say it is. It's proper techniques that you can use to push forward, keep going. So anyway, good luck with that. And I know what you're saying, but ultimately, if you're there doing it, you're more likely to get inspired than if you're not. And what else have we got? I'm going to finish off with John on Facebook, who says this. Hello all, great advice, Phil. More generally, the more closely you can align with what you say, you can align what you say with what you do, the more empowered you'll be. The minute we make a promise to ourselves, e.g. a commitment or a goal, and then we break it, we've set ourselves up for a bumpy road. So have a goal, break it into actionable steps, and create an environment that makes those goals a necessity. And John says, have a look at Lee Thayer's Doing Life. There's something else you can Google afterwards. Doing Life by Lee Thayer, who it looks like John has been inspired by along these lines. I mean, this stuff I'm teaching you here, I didn't invent it. I've synthesized it over the years to keep my life busy and chugging along and to get the things done that are important to me. I hope I've helped you to get this DJing thing done that's important to you. And remember, we're in January. You've still got time to have an absolutely awesome year. If you've done nothing towards your DJing yet, you've still got time to do steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pick a goal, tell others, figure out the work, reallocate the time and get it in your calendar. You can do all of that between now and the end of January and then spend February onwards actually delivering on it. So do it. And if you want an idea and you love scratch DJing, may I humbly suggest that you do this. Sign up now for DJ Jazzy Jeff's Scratch Skills Masterclass. Scratching the way Jeff's always done it, timeless cutting and scratching using the best old school hip hop. It's an awesome course and it could be just the thing for you to do. And the best thing is it drops before the end of January. So stick your email address in there. You'll find that at djtips.co/jazzyjeff, djtips.co/jazzyjeff. Pop your email address in at the bottom there. And when you've done that, we'll let you know the second it goes live with our usual generous launch offer. So thank you very much for being here today. I've enjoyed it, and thanks to everyone who's joined in, making it a busy one in the comments. Until next time, where are we now? We're on Tuesday. For all you subscribers, we're probably live on Thursday, somewhere inside one of our platforms. I'm not sure today, right now. I haven't looked at my calendar, but it's in there with a little note. Might see you on Thursday. If not, I'll see you next Tuesday for another Tuesday live lesson. Meanwhile, for me, Phil, here in the studio, get good, get out there, plan some great moments into your calendar. And bye-bye for now.